everyone, I'm Carleen DeSisto, and my chapter is about my husband who passed from lung cancer about 14 and a half years ago. It'll be 15 years in January. When Susan asked, actually Susan and I used to walk a bit, that's part of our networking, we take a walk. And we were taking a walk through the woods, and that's when she asked me if I wanted to participate in her book. And I was one of the ones that said yes right away without thinking about it. Just sort of like, well, I know Susan, I know she'll do a good job, I know she's really organized and she'll help us through the process. But afterwards, I did stop and think about it. It's like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? I'm going to be sharing my innermost personal feelings that even my loved ones haven't even, I haven't really even expressed that to them. So when they read it, they're gonna find out some things about how I was feeling, not so, because I was always there to support him, and I tried to be the strong one throughout the whole process. But having Susan as like the director of the authors, she made it easy for me, and I'm sure the other ones can say too, because she had a plan. It was all, and that's part of one of the reasons I agreed to it too. Once I felt more comfortable with saying yes, is because we were not going to be doing this on our own. It wasn't like, okay, go sit down, write your story, and then bring it back to me, and that's that. She had meetings planned for us, meeting with people like Nikki, and we met and we learned about what we were facing when we're writing this book, giving us tips and telling us it was okay. Joanne, I think you did something too. And it allowed us to open up. We cried. We had many sessions on Zoom because it was during COVID that we were doing this. And as we shared our feelings, we did become really close because we found a lot of commonalities amongst us. Yes, it was a different person. It was a husband, it was a son, it was a friend. But there were a lot of things that I realized, and one of the things that I felt a lot of was guilt. And you just kind of walk around with it, and you don't really realize that what you're doing until you hear others say, well, yeah, why didn't I spend more time with him before, he passed? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? I should have been there. And you've got this guilt thing going on. And you think you're the only one. You think that, you really didn't do something that you should have. But what I learned was that feeling guilty is normal, but they also felt guilt. And what I was feeling guilty about was I was not even thinking about my feelings. And writing the book was getting me to stop and think, okay, he was doing this while he was doing that. I was a wreck. He was depressed, I was depressed. It brought out, and it was actually a cathartic event for me, because talking to others who had similar experiences, but just hearing their stories, hearing their bravery about sharing their stories with me and with everyone else, that in itself helped. The sessions that we had were, one of them was telling us about what's going to happen when we, get this book together, and we're going to have book signings, and we're going to do things like that, and we're all kind of like, we are, it's like, we didn't sign up for that, but we did, and it was just, we got really close, we learned a lot about each other, but most importantly, writing the book, I learned that I really was a strong, independent person. People were telling me, sell your house, you're just, you can't do things by yourself. And I proved them wrong. I said, yes, I can. I started my own business. I got laid off from the corporate workforce, and I started my passion business. And so I learned that how I was feeling was okay. I didn't need to keep and hang on to that guilt. I did as much as I could because it wasn't only him that was going through the process. Mentally, physically, emotionally, I was going through something entirely different. And just hearing about it was so helpful. And it got, when I started, like I said, when I was writing the chapters, I thought it would be hard, to start writing it. But once I sat there, I did an outline first. Once Susan had some people suggest, this is what you do, write some thoughts out, so that you just don't go and stare at a blank page. So I did. I wrote some thoughts and some of the sessions that we had, that's part of what we did. We talked about emotions, we talked about feelings, we talked about it was okay to feel the way that you are. It was okay to be sad. Holding in your feelings was worse for you than not sharing. So that's what we were able to do. We were able to share, get it out there, and I started to look back and said, you went through hell. It wasn't just him that was suffering and whatnot. I worked full time. I tried to keep everything going, and I didn't like to ask for help. That's the type of person I was. I can do it on my own. Well, I learned that not so much. There were times, and that people like to help you. They like to share. It's just when someone passes, they don't know what to say. So what do? They kind of avoid you. After 2 weeks, everybody's talking to you and whatnot, and then the communication kind of fizzles off. And what I learned was that wasn't uncommon. That happened to a lot of people. So the book, what I'm hoping is that people will learn that it's okay to be sad. You don't have to be happy all the time. You don't have to put on a face. If I feel like bursting out and crying because something triggered an emotion, I'm gonna do it. I did do it. There are many times where I sat and a movie would remind me about couples or something, and I was like, well, I'm no longer a couple. What am I gonna do? And I would either pick up the phone, or I'd write a text or send an email to one of my friends. And what I want people to know is just somebody sending a text to you and just saying, how are you doing today? That type of thing. You don't have to get into a conversation with me, but if I was fortunate, I had a support group. I had a close family support group. I had a few really close friends. I didn't feel the need for joining a support group. And some of the books that people showed me, that wasn't for me. It was like a lot of science, a lot of do this, that type of thing. We shared our heartfelt feelings in this book, and hope that just by sharing, other people will realize I'm okay. I made it through to the other side. Was it easy? No. There are a lot of difficult times. There's times I still wonder about certain things, but being a part of this authors group has really meant a lot to me. And Susan, I'm so grateful that you did what you did. You asked me to participate and got me to get out of my comfort zone and put down in writing to share with others, which I never thought I would be able to do that. So thank you so much, and thank you, Ashley.